my dad it was probably one of the best baseball players in the state, but he may have been the best in the state, but he never got recognized, you know, to the full extent because of the color of his skin.
Located on the corner of Wagner and High Street in the Southeast Neighborhood Park, you'll find Foundry Field. Open to the public just 2 years ago, Foundry Field is a place for kids and adults alike to play ball and for history to be restored. In the 1920s, the Studebaker Industrial League was often on top of the South Bend Tribune, and you'd find the Foundry Giants on top of the standings. Though over time, much of the history was lost, and cryptic box scores were some of the only remains. However, community efforts prove that history can be restored, and it is being done through Foundry Field. The field, dedicated to recovering the history and honoring the Foundry Giants, alongside underrepresented baseball teams and players from South Bend, brings stories to light that otherwise haven't been told. On the retaining wall, you can find murals of players who played for the Foundry Giants. In beautiful colors, you'll find Alonzo Poindexter, who played for the Foundry Giants and became one of South Bend's first black deputy sheriffs. John Big Pitch Williams is seen winding up. Williams would go on to play 5 seasons in the Negro League for the Dayton Macros and St. Louis Stars, winning 2 Negro National League pennants. On High Street, you'll see a mural of Seabe Gavin Sr. Seabe Gavin Sr. first served our country and after war struggled to find work because he was black. Alonzo Poindexter Sr. invited him to work for the Studebaker, where they later became teammates on the Foundry Giants. Seabe Gavin Sr. was an incredible athlete across all sports, but was always first a father.
I really didn't know the full impact that my dad had in athletics until I was attending a meeting right there at Four Winds Field. And it was a community service meeting. I was on a youth board, and a gentleman walked up to me and said, "Your name is Seabe Gavin?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, is Seabe Gavin your dad or your grandfather?" I said, "That's my dad." And he said, "Well, I have something for you." And he took down my contact information, and a couple of days later, he had this binder of all the South Bend Tribune clippings of my father. And I was like, wow. And, statistically, my dad batted like 649 for his entire 4-year career. Since he averaged 9 strikeouts or more a game when he pitched. But he never talked about that. He taught me how to play, but while we were going through all of that, he talked about family, how important it was for me to be responsible, how important for me to look out for my brothers and sisters, but also how important it was for me to respect people. And so that was the biggest learning process that I went through, but it was all done through the game of baseball.
Seabe Gavin Sr. and the Foundry Giants played for the Studebaker Industrial League 30 years before baseball was integrated. Foundry Field offers a glimpse into the past and the ability to think about the experience as a black team in a predominantly white league.
For me, when I read about history, I try to take my mental thoughts and try to place myself into that setting. And you kind of want to wonder, I guess for me, you wonder, even though they were competing and they were just as good and were better than some majority of the team, what kind of pressure did they live under every day, walking into all white stadiums and competing against all white teams? Were there verbal abuse, or were there taunts, or were things being thrown at them? So my grandmother intentionally was part of the Great Migration. They moved north and they landed in South Bend. Lo and behold, my father became this great athlete.
To him, this mural is a testament to his legacy.
What does it mean? It means that I drive by there every day and say, "Hi, Daddy." I drive by every day. I had an opportunity to throw out the first pitch at Foundry Field, and someone took a photograph of me throwing the pitch, and my dad's mural was right behind me the way he took the photograph. And it was one of the most powerful pictures I ever seen, that included me and my dad. And it was just amazing, for me to fully understand that he's part of local history.
Seabe Gavin Sr.'s journey was not an easy one, and it is evident that he had a forever lasting impact on his family.
always wanted to be around either my parents or my grandparents, and out of that, I heard a lot of the things that they went through to get to where I am. It's not to where they got to, but where I am, because without them going through their journey, I never would have became an athletic director. My dad and my aunt, they had to pick cotton, 100 pounds of cotton each day. My mother even had to pick 100 pounds of cotton each day. She tells me about her story. My mother was a great athlete. I think about the sacrifices that they made to make sure that we are able to be in a position that we are. Fought that battle and laid out that journey for us to be able to be where we are now.
The mural states, "A future with no hope is no future at all. To Mr. Gavin, it is a flower that is blooming."
I was standing there at Foundry Field this past spring, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is reminds me of when I was growing up as a kid." I said, "Now we have planted this. The seed has been planted." Well, not only that, but you had to, you dig that dirt and you plant the seed, then you pour water on it, and then that beautiful flower just bloom. And that's the way I see Foundry Field. We have a beautiful flower over there that we need to just continuously water day by day, so it can bloom and give people the opportunity to understand the game of baseball is for everybody, everyone.
The impact of the retelling of the Foundry Giants with the creation of Foundry Field shares important history that otherwise would be forgotten, and the goal is to share and honor those before and continue to come together.